Hello, YouTube. It's like a lot of broadcasting. I'm actually doing a lot of broadcasting, trying to get the watch time up, and also to run more ads, because that's part of my goal here, to get the channel back up to viable status. Those of you who are longtime viewers, if you want to help this channel out, remember there are some playlists that you can run, and that'll actually help me out, because you know, those playlists have the monetized videos on them, and if you watch them, or you can just run them in the background and listen to them, it'll help me with YouTube income revenue. Because as I told you before, the YouTube, all of YouTube is suffering, you know, with the COVID. So even though it looks like a lot of ads are running, they're actually paying quite a bit less than they used to, you know, as far as per video. But at least they're running videos, so at least YouTubers aren't totally, like, you know, unemployed, like a lot of people who are working in certain jobs. So, you know, those people are in my thoughts, because I know it is a struggle for everyone. But I wanted to talk a little bit. Hey, Kira, good to see you, Kira. I want to talk to you a little bit about retiring, and retiring early, and why I'm still trying to proceed despite the circumstances. I know you guys don't know me from previously, from prior to YouTube. But prior to YouTube, I actually wasn't, like, always broke. Not that I was ever really rich or anything, but I had managed my money pretty well up until, you know, the divorce and everything that happened after. But I was actually planning on retiring back then at about 46 years old. I was going to retire at 46. So I had set aside some money, had businesses and stuff that were generating income. The idea was to generate, like, passive income, so that you didn't really have to, like, actively be in the office or whatever working. And that was all actually going pretty well, and I was doing pretty good, you know. That was about 10 years ago. And then when I got 44 is when all the stuff fell apart with my now ex-wife, and basically everything got totally wiped out. So, you know, they say, like, the best laid plans of mice and men. So no matter how good your plan is, sometimes all it takes is like a monkey wrench, and then everything just sort of kabooms, okay? And now I find myself now really just even struggling to stay afloat, but it's changing. So I do appreciate all of you who've been here with me for the past 4 years, 5 years on YouTube. You've kind of seen, hopefully, a transformation. You know, it hasn't been as dramatic as some of the other YouTubers that were around since that time, but at least we're moving in the right direction, you know. And sometimes we've had setbacks. But originally my plan was to retire at 46, because I had a software company that was actually doing pretty well, but it ended up getting totally destroyed because of the divorce. And that revenue of income totally went away. Now I'm trying to rebuild it all back up, but it's kind of hard now because the world has changed so much. You know, back then, no one even knew what an app was. You know, you didn't call stuff apps, you called them programs, computer programs. And the cell phones, they were those little flip phones. You know, you didn't really have elaborate games. Most of them were some kind of tower defense or something like that. So you basically bought stuff on computers, and people didn't expect things for free. You know, like nowadays, it's like pay to win. They give away the free game, and then you got to keep paying to progress, basically, which I never really liked. I never liked that model, so I hadn't done games like that. You know, I don't like doing games like that. I don't like a game that you buy and then you keep having to keep paying. Okay, it's like, even like with World of Warcraft, you buy the game, you don't really buy the game, you license. You never really buy a game, guys. You never buy software, you license it. But then they make you keep having to pay a monthly fee for the server and all that. Like, I was trying to design a game that was multiplayer, that you bought the game, then you played, and you didn't have to pay every month. But then if you wanted certain special items, you could quest a long time, you know, or be really good and get it, or you could buy it. That's how my model was for my game model, but it never got developed. So anyhow, I had to start all over, and it looked for a while like, you know, I was probably going to end up as a dead person someday in a Walmart parking lot, which even in the span of the 3 or 4 years we've been on YouTube, you know, there's been about probably about 8 or 10 different people that have been found dead in various Walmarts. 2 or 3 of them here in Florida. One of them was some lady that was parked near me where I used to park at a certain Walmart. So, you know, and she was, I think at the time she was about 54 years old. So my age right now. So it's not like we're talking like really old people, you know, it's people my age who, for whatever reason, ended up living in a car or whatever, you know, becoming homeless. But, what I'm trying to get at is this, okay? If you want to retire early, you need to plan for it, but you need to really sit down and assess your situation and see what you need to retire, okay? And a lot of people, if they just go by, like a lot of people just work and they don't think about retirement, not until they get older, like probably in their 50s, as, you know, they start to near 60, 70 years old. They keep pushing back the official retirement age further and further, saying that people live longer and longer. But I think that's a lie, you know. Most people in my family, even my friends' parents, they didn't live much longer than 65, 67 years old, which is, they're trying to push retirement back to past 65 years old for somebody my age. They want you to be like 67 before you reach full retirement age. So, you know, they want to do all that to push you back so you can do that, or they punish you if you retire, quote, early, and then if you wait till later, they give you more money, which is what's happening to me right now. I chose early retirement, like way, way early. And some people might think it's foolish, but you know, the reasoning that I had it was that I don't expect to be alive that much longer. And some of you are like, wow, Denoy, you're like all doom and gloom today. No, I'm just being realistic. I'm looking at my family history. I'm also looking at my health and what's been happening over the last couple of years. You know, I even knew it when I was in my 30s. I was like, I don't know, in my life, I honestly, like right now, being alive right now, I think I'm getting bonus time. You know, like I'm actually alive when I should already be dead. I thought I'd be dead at 50 something, you know. So making it through that divorce and everything else, and even being alive right now, this was totally something unexpected. I was not expecting to still be alive at this point. And I thought I would be dead already. So starting from the time I was probably about 35 or so, I started preparing for retirement, had it all laid out, calculated that I would have, by the time I hit retirement at 46, I'd probably have like at least $250,000 saved up and be generating about anywhere from 25 to 70,000 a year side income, even though I was retired. But all that kind of went away. So what we had to do with this new round is really scale back. But honestly, I don't know how much I really scaled back, because the way I guess address the situation is the same as before. I basically look at what I need, okay, and I think like being without money helps you to realize what you really need or what you really don't need. Like the only thing I really need is shelter, you know, and food. Anything else is like a bonus. But the other thing about it is this: what is your dream of retirement? What is it you want to do in retirement? That determines, you know, basically how much you're going to need and whether or not retiring early is going to be good for you or not. My idea of retirement isn't to just go sit off somewhere and wait to die. You know, I'm like, heck, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to stop living your life and interacting with people and doing, you know, fun things to live a life where you basically are just waiting for death? So that was never my vision of retirement. My vision of retirement was really simple, okay, and that is to take advantage of this life and enjoy everything that it has to offer. And I'm not talking about like monetary things, but seeing the world, the beauty of the world, and meeting people and traveling. Okay, so that was my main goal in retirement. Wasn't to go sit somewhere. Like I don't really want to sit in a fancy house or anything like that. I just want to have a home base where I can go when I'm tired and rest a little bit. But after resting, I want to travel. I want to see things. I want I want to ride the elephant again. I want to, I want to stand on the Great Wall of China. I want to visit Paris, and see the Eiffel Tower. I want to see all these things, maybe even like pet a camel, out in Egypt or something. And I know all these are expensive, okay? It's not like it would be cheap. But the reality is, if you really, really want something, and that is your goal, and you set it as your goal, and you're not like out in the middle of nowhere where you can't earn any income, you can make it a priority and try to save money towards that, and to make that a reality, even if it means like doing with less while you're working towards that goal. And sometimes you don't reach that goal and you can modify it, and that's okay. See, some people think that if you make a goal and you don't reach it, or it looks like you can't reach it the way you want it to, you failed and it's all over. But that's far from the case, okay? If you make a goal and you're going to fail and you can see you're going to fail, adapt that goal, okay? You don't need to, I mean, it would be nice if what you envisioned as your retirement is exactly as it is. But what I found in life is whatever you imagine, it's not really like that. Like, how many people got married thinking that it would be perfect? And then how many found it not to be so perfect? Okay? So, life is like that. What you think, it's like the mind, your brain, your mind fools you. It makes you think the best. You always assume or think that everything will be to the best. But the reality is, sometimes, a lot of times actually, life can disappoint you if you expect it to be exactly the way you envision. So have some flexibility in your vision. But where I am right now, I'm actually about 10 years behind on my retirement. I'm actually late. But it's still better than no plan at all. And it actually looks like it's within reach. I just got a package the other day, and it had a little blue book on it with an eagle. You know what that is? Yeah, the State Department came through and sent me my passport. So even though now with COVID still going crazy and everything's still out of control, I won't be able to leave like I wanted to. I had hoped to leave shortly after the new year. But because of COVID and everything else going on and all the other things that I need to close out, that's not going to happen. So I've had to adapt my plan again. Okay, and that's okay, because while here I can make more money than I could in Thailand, even if I was working full-time over there as a language teacher. That's always a fallback I could possibly do over there. I could also teach computer skills. I can do all sorts of stuff, I don't think I would have a hard time getting a job, let me put it that way, in Thailand at least. So, but the jobs there wouldn't pay as much as they do here. But the big problem I have with living here in America is it costs so much to live here compared to how much it would cost in Thailand. And that's where, the longer I stay and have to pay rent and mortgage and everything else, all the bills and stuff that I have to pay here in the United States, it makes it harder. So, that's why you see me preparing the vehicle right now. I'm actually trying to cut off a huge expenditure, and that is living in an apartment or an RV or whatever, because that is a huge expenditure for me. I'm basically paying for a place where I can sleep and cook and eat and then go back to work to pay for that place. So I'm earning money and paying for the place, but I'm not earning any extra money that could go towards my retirement. So by cutting that out, I'll have the money that I need, okay? And my plan is to live a really simple life. I'm not planning on going to Thailand and buying a bunch of crazy stuff, or staying in 5-star resorts and things like that. I know some people do that on their retirement, and I say good for them if that's what makes them happy. For me, what would make me happy is just to be able to not worry about money and not worry about any of this stuff. Just to live a very simple life. I could probably retire in a little mountain village somewhere and be happy. And the cost of living there would be like pennies per day. Okay, so, but I don't think I'd want to stay in that mountain village and just stay there. I'd probably use that as home base and then travel or whatever. I still don't know yet what to expect, but a channel that I'm gonna promote right, which he doesn't even know I'm promoting, but I like his channel, and because I just saw his video about his retirement. I'm like, wow, he's a lot like me, but he's already done it. So he's showing it is possible, okay, although he had different circumstances. But if you want to check out that channel, it's called No Time to Be Sad. NOTIME, the number 2, and the letter B, and then SAD. No Time to Be Sad. And from what I understand from watching his videos, I haven't watched everything, just a couple videos, but the one where he talks about where he's retiring early, he decided to retire from the United States at 47 years old. 47. And you know, he talked a little bit about it on this one video, which he put up, I think, about 4 years ago. So I guess he's like probably 51 now. He's younger than I am. But he's living in Thailand right now with his wife and her family. And, you know, he's a really nice guy from looking at the videos, and very respectful, prior military. And from what I understand, he didn't, you know, his wife is Thai, but I don't think he met her there. I think he met her in the United States. So some of you were wondering how you go about meeting like a foreigner or an Asian person or a Thai person to marry or whatever. You know, there's a bunch of Thai people here in the United States. And if you're wondering where you can meet them or see them, I've already shown in previous episodes, but essentially, if you want to meet Asians, okay, you need to hang out where the Asians hang out. And I'm not talking about the Chinese restaurant. Although you could meet them there, okay? But I'm talking about, like, sometimes I show you the Thai temples, and they also have Vietnamese temples and other temples like that. That's where the people who are of that ethnic group will congregate, you know, so they have like different things. And if you want to meet Asians that are still mostly Asians, even though they're Americanized, they go to those kind of events. They attend the temples and things like that. So if you go to those places, you actually meet Asians. And some of those Asians may actually be single, you know, so if you're single, you can do that. If you're not single, well, then, you know, you want to look at retirement, and you're wanting to look at retirement in other countries, you're pretty much going to have to go to the websites nowadays for that country, for the embassy. And a lot of them will list what it takes for you to live there. You can Google, how do I retire in Thailand? How do I retire in whatever? And a lot of times the websites will refer you towards the proper information. Now, if you're trying to retire in the United States, obviously, if you're living in the United States and you're not one of those people who are privileged with a lot of money, you know that it's getting more and more difficult by the day. I was just watching some YouTube videos where they were talking about the age of retirement, when you should retire early, when you shouldn't. And, you know, I already kind of figured it out without having to listen to the experts and stuff, but the gist of it is this. They had made it so that if you wait until you're like 65, if you're a certain age right now, or 67, like my age group, you can get the full benefit of Social Security. And then for every year that you delay retirement until you're 70 years old, I think you get 8% more. Or some kind of, maybe not 8, yeah, maybe 8%, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of percentage more, so you get even more money for retirement. But they're talking you staying till you're 70 years old before you claim Social Security. Well, Social Security isn't really retirement, but for those of you like me who don't have any real retirement, that may be your only option. But they're saying that if you claim Social Security before you're 65 years old or 67, you know, depending on your age group, you're gonna lose some money, so you should try to stay longer. But there are exceptions to that, and those exceptions are basically this: how long do you think you're gonna live? I know it's a hard question. It's a question that a lot of people just don't know. But some things that you can think about that will help guide you towards retiring early, or not retiring, but pulling Social Security early, are your health. You know, how healthy you are. If you're very healthy, then you might be able to last till you're 65 or 67 or 70 years old. But I'm going to let you know from my own experience, like traveling, okay? If you're like me and wanting to travel, the older you are, the harder it becomes to travel. I know when you're 40, you still feel okay. But when I was 40 and I was up in the mountains in Colorado, I was already struggling a little bit with breathing because the air was so thin. But I was watching people in their 70s over there, you know, they were retired and they were climbing the mountain and they had to have a cane or a walking stick and stuff like that. And they had to go really slow because they had to keep catching their breath. And I was looking at them and I was like, you know, it must be good to be retired. It's good that they're so healthy, but they don't look like they're enjoying it too much. It looks like a hardship to climb the mountain when you're like 70 years old. And I knew then, I was exactly, I think I was exactly 40 years old back then. And I was saying, you know, that I don't think I could do it at 60, even at 60 years old. Like I'm 54 right now, and thinking of if I go back to Colorado and try to climb the mountains and stuff, it probably would be a lot more difficult for me, especially since I have back pains now. I have all these issues that I used to not have. So those are some considerations. If you retire when you're older and you can't enjoy your retirement, what the heck was the point? What was the heck was the point of working all your life, and then you're going to wait until you're so old and frail that when you go to retire, the only thing you can do is sit around and wait for death. That is a reality. And if you know, you're like me, you're not perfectly, absolutely healthy, it might be worth considering retiring early. The other issue is, how much money do you have? If you have a lot of money, you obviously can last longer before you need to retire. But if you're young like me and don't have a lot of money, okay, for your retirement anyways, it may be better to claim it early. You know, your retirement as well as Social Security. So if they allow me to claim it at 62, I'm claiming it at 62, even though they say I could lose, like I could maybe only get like, I don't know if it's like 35 or 50 or 60% of what I'm supposed to get. I would rather get that than get nothing, or wait until I'm 67 and pretty much dead. And I know some of you who are older, I have a lot of older viewers on here, like, you know, you're being silly. You know, I'm 67 or whatever, and I'm fine. Yeah, you're healthy. I'm not. You know, and some of you look at me and you think I'm healthy, but you know, a lot of times people have health issues and health concerns, but they don't show it, or it's not as visible. So, you know, and just work till I'm dead. And I know some people think I don't work. I've worked my butt off my whole life. Okay, so you know, I worked a lot more when I was younger because I was planning on retiring at 46, and that got taken away. So now I'm 54. I was hoping to retire now, but it looks like I might have to wait till I'm 55 or 56 to officially, fully, you know, not work. So I'm taking advantage of the extra year or two to try to stockpile some money. And that means living really frugally, you know, even though I will have the money that if I wanted to, because in the United States at 54, you could move into a mobile home park. You know, they have the senior mobile home park, and the rent, it can be okay. I think with my retirement and working, even part-time, I would have enough money that I could live there. And, you know, my wife could work and we could both have enough money to live in a mobile home park. And some people might say, well, that's absolutely fine for your later years. I'm like, bullshit. I didn't spend my whole life working and doing all the stuff that I tried to do to make a better life to retire in a mobile home park and wait to die. The problem with retiring like that, and it's not a problem if that's what you do and you don't mind doing that, okay? Because some people do enjoy that. They enjoy just staying at home and watching TV. Me, I want to see the world. I want to see Brazil. I want to go to Carnival. I want to do all these things before I die. And already I'm late. You know, I'm 10 years behind where I'm supposed to be right now. But that means that if I go to live in a mobile home park or whatever, my chance of getting out of there drops because I have to pay for the rent, I have to pay for the electric, I have to pay for the cable, I have to pay for the internet, I have to pay for all these things. So in other words, I keep working to pay to live there to work. And that's why you're seeing this drastic move of trying to make this little tiny car work, even though I can already tell you it's not going to be anywhere near as comfortable as living in the RV. Okay? But if they're able to save me the money within the next year or two, and I don't die from it, that's the key, is whatever risk you take, you want to make sure you have some kind of safety, okay? Then it's a risk that I think it's worth taking. I think it's a risk that I am willing to take to suffer a little bit. But really, you know, I've lived in a van before. It's not like I haven't done it. So I don't really think it's too much of a suffrage, because even though physically it is demanding, but honestly, when I lived in the van, especially when I wasn't working full time, you know, when I was working the night gig and I had a little bit of flexibility in my schedule, it was nice to wake up with nature, to wake up and by the water and to see the sunrise. A lot of people I see driving to work, they ignore the sunrise. They don't even see how beautiful it is. So being able to slow down in your life, that's a bonus. You know, if your whole purpose in life is to work towards retirement, and your retirement is just waiting to die, what the heck kind of life was that? Okay, but that's the life I'm looking at a lot of people living. I don't know if they're happy or not. Only they can answer that. You know, everybody lives their lives and makes their own choices in what they want to do and how they want to live. And now some people are very well off. You know, they actually have a nice house and they can buy an RV and travel and do all that. And even though they're retired, they can travel and they can do all that. And that's very good if they can do that, and they're happy doing that. They did a good job of planning. They were very lucky that nothing came and hit them on the side and blew them off their plan, okay? But, you know, even if you're not in that position, it's not impossible to pursue your dream and make it real. I guess what I'm saying is, if you know what you want out of your life, what your ultimate goal is, then it makes it a lot easier to plan for it. But you got to take that step, even though it's scary, you know. And then the other thing that No Time to Be Sad was talking about that I think is very important, because he was talking about it, and this was 4 years ago, and now I see his videos now 4 years later. He's super happy. But 4 years ago, what happened was he ended up quitting his job and then took a risk on a side gig that ended up, he got successful. He got very lucky. But then he sold all of that, and they sold everything, and they bought a used trailer, you know, a camper and a truck, a used truck. They sold their home and everything. He had a girlfriend who was Thai, well, his wife, who was Thai, living in America. So it is okay to have you know, relationship with a foreigner in your country, even though they're Americanized, and still have it work out. But what they decided was they didn't want to just keep working and then living waiting to die, just like I don't. So they decided they would, you know, sacrifice to retire early, and that's what they ended up doing. So they sold everything and bought the camper, and then, just like I'm planning on doing with my wife, they traveled the United States for a while. They just went around to different places, different states, and, you know, it had them snorkeling and doing stuff at Key West and all sorts of stuff. And I think they went on a Carnival cruise out of Miami. They did all these things that you want to do before you leave this country. Because the United States has a lot of beautiful things and wonderful experiences that you can do while you're here, that foreigners come here to do. You know, they pay thousands of dollars just to get here so that they can go down to Key West or something. So you make sure you do all these things that you can do in this native country if you're planning on going overseas. And then afterwards, they decided to go overseas. Now, he had some benefits over me because I guess he had more money saved up than I do. But he also had his wife, her family had a house that they could live in. So, you know, he went there and he's living for free, kind of. Not really. I mean, I think he pays money helps to contribute some fees. But the fact that they had that all set up, and the big reason he said that is the same reason I'm telling you I'm going to retire in Thailand. It's called quality of life, okay? The money here in the United States, I know Americans don't know it, but everything here is super expensive compared to a lot of countries around the rest of the world. And then also in America, they society almost brainwashes you to say you got to keep spending money. You got to have a brand new car. You got to have the highest speed internet service. You got to have the latest iPhone. You got to have all these gadgets. You got to have all these things. So it's a very materialistic society that promotes people to spend money that they don't have on things that they don't need. Whereas in a lot of foreign countries, especially places like Asia, Southeast Asia, they don't have a lot. But the people there don't need a lot. But if you look at the people there, most of them are happy. Actually, they call Thailand the land of smiles, because pretty much everyone there is always smiling because we're happy as a group. As a culture, being happy in Thailand is like critical. You always got to be happy, because if you're not happy, what the heck is the purpose of life? So, even work and everything like that is approached like that in Thailand. Now, he also mentioned that you should have always backup plans. So some of you might think I'm foolish going to Thailand without really having enough money and stuff, but I do have a backup plan. If I have to work, I can work there. Let's say I didn't even get hired or anything. Let's say I went and for some weird reason, which I know I could easily get a job as a teacher, okay? But let's say I couldn't get a job as a teacher for whatever reason. I could go up to tourists and speak to them in English and say, hey, do you need a tour guide? I'll show you how not to get ripped off. I'll show you the best places to go. So basically, when you have a plan, even though that might not seem like much of a plan, but honestly, I could make a living as a tour guide in Thailand. I could make a living as a translator or whatever. I could drive people around. I could do whatever it takes. But jobs are available just like they are here in the United States. And some people might say, well, Denoy, why didn't you work? Why didn't you do? I did work. I worked whatever jobs I could, but only at a certain level, at a certain extent. And that was partially done by choice. Some of it was me. Some of it was the circumstances of the situation that created that. But for the most part, you are responsible for your life, and your own happiness. And if you think that you're not happy right now, and you take the moment, just take some time for yourself to look at why you're not happy. And once you can figure out why you're not happy, it makes it a lot easier for you to figure out how to become happy. Because once you realize why you're not happy, you can fix the problem. You can actually work towards becoming happy. And if you're like I am, middle age or passing middle age and stuff, what do you see in your future? Are you going to be happy in that future? And if you're not, what can you do to fix it? And some people say they can't do anything. Well, you can't do anything if that's what you put into your head. But there's always a solution, to fixing the issues that make you unhappy. And if making you unhappy is just that you feel like your life has no purpose, then find purpose. Maybe become a volunteer and do things, to help other people. But maybe take the time to help yourself and look at your life and what makes you really happy. One of the things I've always done in my life, at least, up until disaster hit, and even now I still think I'm kind of doing it, is I always try to help people. I think that helping people is a very good thing to do, not just because you're helping somebody, but it does something for you. It gives you happiness. And so even if I'm in Thailand, I may end up, doing some work to help people. But for the most part, I think helping people is always a worthwhile cause. That's why, like, even with my channel here, I do try to help. I point out things, even though sometimes it causes problems for me on a personal basis because of crazy people out there, the weirdos, the trolls, the whatever they are, the haters. But I still share it because I think it might make a difference in somebody's life. And, basically, I guess my ultimate answer or my ultimate statement today is that try to find out what makes you happy. And when you can find that out and you actually come up with a plan to pursue it, you're going to find yourself happy already, happier, because now there's actually hope and you're actually working towards your goal. And even if it looks like the goal is not going to be reachable, make up some other plan along the way. Be flexible in what you want. But the ultimate idea of what makes you happy is what you should head towards. And if what makes you happy is just retiring in a mobile home, sitting in a little mobile lot, watching cable TV and not having to work, or going to work as a Walmart greeter or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if that's what makes you happy. But if what makes you happy is living life to the fullest and travel and doing all those things, then why are you contemplating or sitting in a mobile home? What's holding you there? I guess is my question. And if you can answer that and you can come up with a solution to it, you might find that your life can be happier than it is, and it is happier than it currently is, because you now have a goal that you're working towards. So I guess that's it. But check out No Time to Be Sad. NOTIME, the number 2, letter B, and SAD. All one word, all written together. So that's if you want to learn a little bit about an American, an expat, who retired early in Thailand. And honestly, I think when he went to retire, it's not like he had a whole bunch of money or anything. He had normal. He was in better position than I am, or was. But still, it wasn't like he had a ton of money and everything. He had just gone through a divorce, I guess, and then, met the Thai woman, and then they got married and whatever. And he wanted to live a life, He had raised his kids already and just wanted to live his life. So my advice for you, look at your own life, find out what makes you happy, then pursue it. And even if you fail, it's okay. But you won't fail. I can tell you that you won't fail. If you make your goal and you start heading towards it, you're already there. The goal itself, heading towards it, that should make you happy. Because you're doing something that you want to do. You're going towards something that you want to be at, where you want to be, and what you want to do with your life. So who would not be happy doing that? That's like, me living in this, trying to move back into this car here. Some people say, why is he doing that to himself? You probably won't see me too miserable living in the car, okay? You're probably going to see me super excited and happy. Because living in the car, even though it might not be comfortable and it might be hard, okay, I'm working towards my goal, which is, still kind of young, retirement. And I'm planning on traveling and doing all these things that I wanted to do. It's just delayed from, 10 years, but it's still going to be done. As long as I'm still alive, I still have that opportunity. So make sure you take advantage of your own opportunities. Stay safe. I'm going to read your comments later, but I'm driving right now, so I won't be able to do it. But I appreciate all of you who are tuning in. And if you would like to help me out, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you want to help me earn more YouTube revenue, check out the playlist, the various playlists, and you can watch those playlists and, let the ads run. That'll help me. I'm getting ready to update some of the playlists to, bring back some more content that may have been buried, because a lot of newcomers here to the channel, they don't have a clue what I'm talking about when I talk about some of the old stuff. So until next time, everyone, take care. God, stay safe. Bye-bye now.